Well, since it is the 6th of January, the date of the infamous insurrection, thought I'd talk about a little, the politicians have been carrying on about it, grossly exaggerating it, but, there's a reason behind that. But I'd kind of like to do a rebuttal here because, they keep referred to this as an insurrection, an armed insurrection, though they weren't armed, and it really was nothing more than a protest that turned into a riot. I mean, if you want to see an insurrection, look what's going on in Kazakhstan, or, they're cutting heads off there. They are armed. But anyway, and I thought, when that came up, I thought, man, that certainly sounds like something we'd get involved in. They're using our playbook. But then when they got to the point where they're cutting off heads, we don't usually go that far. Though, we turn people loose and we have little control over them. And oh, Bob, you're going to knock that camera. Ooh, Bob. Of course. Anyway, they want to refer to it as an insurrection. In no way does it meet the criteria for an insurrection. But, they have this habit of lying and continuing to lie and exaggerate, and they figure eventually you'll accept this as the truth, and unfortunately people do. They want to make it sound like Trump got these people all riled up, and then they went down to the Capitol, from the White House to the Capitol, thirsting for blood. Well, this riot was going on, or this protest, while Trump was still speaking way down the street. The timeline is all wrong, so there's no way they could hang this on him, though they would really like to. But just the facts don't show that that's what went on. He didn't say, let's go down there, and lead a crowd down there to start lynching these. It's just silly. Even at the time when it happened, I said, oh, okay, but if you're going to do something like that, you sincerely do it. You don't go in there in costumes and play acting kind of bullshit, You do like the Kazakhs are doing. You go in there and start shooting people and cutting heads off. But none of that happened, at least on the side of the protesters. Yeah, Bill, Bob, you got to be involved in this. But it's all bullshit. But like I say, they like to, if they just keep repeating this over and over and over, they probably did nail that, but not too bad. But okay, so throw out the idea this is an insurrection. They love to be able to push this theory because if they could get it that way so they could blame Trump for this so he couldn't run again, because that's their great fear, he'll run again. No, I'm no big fan of Trump. I think he's kind of a jerk. But he was a hell of a lot better than these kooks we got in there now. I mean, I don't actually consider them a legitimate government. Bill or Bob here. Oh, he's a fun dog. In enclosed spaces. I don't feel they have any jurisdiction over me at all. I have no loyalty to this government whatsoever. To me, it's an occupying force. And hopefully that'll come to an end. They can get back on track again. But for now. I mean, we're putting up with them. But they're digging their own grave here, so not a big problem. But it is sad when you see them doing that, lie until it becomes the accepted truth. And that works if you've got big tech on your side and all the media on your side. You know, you can kind of pull that off, because you always have to be careful what you say, because if it doesn't jibe with what they want you to say, they will shut you down. I mean, there are things about this virus going on now. There's things that come out that I'd dearly love to talk about, but I know that I would be shut down right away. Being that Congresswoman, that Marjorie Taylor Greene, she was giving some information that was off of the government websites, that they actually shut her down off of Twitter because of that. But it's to do with problems that are coming up with this vaccine stuff. I have a theory on this, but I can't talk about it. I'm going to have to do it sometime, but kind of couch it in like the premise of a science fiction story, kind of title it like the unvaccinated shall inherit the earth. I see that coming. I'll have to put together that storyline while it's putting itself together. But there are things that keep turning up, that they keep kind of burying, but they're there. Eventually, hopefully, it'll make mainstream news, but there isn't really any mainstream news anymore. It's just one big propaganda machine. But there are a lot of problems turning up, and a lot of them were listed on that website, but just her mentioning that was enough to get her shut down. I mean, even the guy who came up with this whole RNA method of this vaccination, which isn't really technically a vaccination, it's a treatment, let's say. The guy who came up with this got knocked off Twitter because he's saying, "Oh, I don't like what you're doing with my idea." So I'm getting into the forbidden territory again there, because they got him shut down. But that's the way it works. They're able to put out all kinds of misinformation, but if you say something that doesn't jibe with them, then you're putting misinformation out. I mean, you can, like I say, go right to the website and you can see this stuff, but if you talk about it, it's misinformation, though it's fact. It's just plain fact. Now, well, I'm hoping eventually, there's always hope that this will turn around, that by some miracle things will turn around. But I tell you, if it does, there needs to be repercussions for this. I was disappointed. Like I say, I'm not a big fan of Trump, but when he got in, he really should have cleaned house, because a lot of his problems now are coming from people who were, hanging on. I mean, we need to go in there and clean that whole rat's nest out once and for all. And like Hillary, obviously should have been in jail. Everybody knew she'd be in jail, but yet she's still dreaming that she could run for president. It's that crazy. That dog is back, so I better shut this off. But those people, you have to deal with them. You can't just let this go on and on. If you don't shut them down, they're going to lurk in the background until they get a chance again. And then they'll come again. But she's still dreaming she could be president. Because they sit there playing around. Who are we going to run? Can't run Biden. He's a complete useless tool. You can't run Harris. He's useless. So they're thinking, okay, where do we go? We got nothing backing us up here. So Hillary wants to jump into the fray, but at the same time, they're thinking maybe if they could persuade Michelle Obama to run. You know, they brought that up and then they kind of dropped it. Now, I don't think she really wants to run, but I think Obama's looking like, okay, man, I get another term. But I don't know that she'll go for it. But the bad part is, if she was to run, she's got a chance. You know, it would be the same shit we got now. It may be Obama and that whole crew running things in the background and just her out front. You know, it doesn't matter who the puppet is, but I think she has a certain popularity among some people. It's not me, but well, he's just asking. He's tough in both places. But we'll see. But like I say, you know, since it's kind of the anniversary of this thing, you know, I bet there's a lot of people now wishing that they would have done it right, not played at it, done it right. That was your chance. Now you got this mess. But the way they talk about what went on is just foolish. You know, it was such a small scale thing compared to what it could have been. Look at Kazakhstan. That's what it could have been. And if they're not careful, that's what it will be. But I am disappointed. You know, they keep saying, oh, it was all thrown out of court. You know, this fraudulent election, because it was. They say, well, it was, all evidence was thrown out of court. Well, there's evidence. They keep saying there's no evidence. There's plenty of evidence. It's just that they refuse to hear it. Well, that's where you had Soros in there getting all these prosecutors and politicians into place. I mean, he's a clever guy at evil, like an evil genius. But it was set up very well for him. But what this end game could possibly be in this, I cannot see. You know, it's just a total destruction of our whole way of life. Why do you want to do that? I don't know. You know. But that's what they're working at. And I hope it changes.